The best finishers in the business. He's going to throw punches until one or two things happen. Either the referee stops it or he knocks you out.
Nobody responded more positively to being punched in the face than Aaron Pryor. He grew up surrounded by violence. Both his mom and sister were arrested and tried for shooting men in their life. Both were freed on grounds of self-defense.
I have a very violent family. The impression my mom always gave us, if somebody hit you, you better hit them back. And she used to pop me in the head. She said, why you don't move your head when I hit you? I was like, Mama, I didn't know I was supposed to move my hand.
He was sleeping on park benches by his pre-teens. A family friend took him in, who happened to live next door to a boxing gym. One day, Aaron gets curious. Aaron fought 220 amateur fights by the time he was 21. His defining moment was a legendary war with future superstar Thomas Hearns.
Hearns, junior Olympic champion, and a very, very fine boxer.
Pryor certainly wants to finish it in the Philly Flyers.
Sticky. Hearns better not try to punch the Pryor. It's too hard for him. There's a big overhand right by Pryor. A left hook by Pryor. Pryor, oh, and there's Hearns is hurt.
It's a better 4-round stretch than any pro fight you can think of. While his suicidal style was hardly the best fit to make an Olympic team. Aaron knew he could go pro and make a name for himself.
Yes, indeed. Pryor is your champion.
Aaron reacted to the ring bell with the same overwhelming enthusiasm as a dog hearing a doorbell. Every fight, every round, Aaron Pryor ran at his opponents. The majority of them just crumpled under the sheer intensity of him. To talk technique, Aaron was something else. He could do anything, jab and move on the outside with unusual grace. His affinity for the marching 1-2-1 combination was the only sure thing on offense. What came after it was anybody's guess. His feet were on a constant hunt for angles. He was an instinctive and unorthodox blend of madness and genius. But it was the thrill-seeking personality and iron chin beneath it all that made his style work.
For 3 years, Aaron Pryor pummeled overmatched opponents. Still, crowds were thin, everywhere but his hometown, Cincinnati.
The fates were not totally kind to Aaron Pryor.
Aaron Pryor was the original bad luck kid.
He always had everything against him. He was a bad guy.
He could never be the matinee idol. He could never be the good guy.
Nicaragua en tu suelo, ya no surge la voz del cañón.
It is a madhouse here as Arguello comes into the ring with a Nicaraguan flag, and the crowd responds, and I don't think there's any question, Larry, but it is going to be a pro-Arguello crowd here.
So although he is in exile, he is still a great hero in his country.
Ray, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that Arguello is not the champion here, but the challenger.
The stadium filled in the hope of seeing Arguello claim his 4th title, while Pryor had at last earned a chance to prove himself on the world stage.
Says you look at Aaron Pryor, and he is a man intense right now, Ray.
I attempted to make Alexis believe that I was going to kill him. What I felt I was going to do to him was for real.
He responded to the ringing bells like a German shepherd out of a police SUV. The fight begins with one of the best opening rounds in boxing history. Pryor puts on intense pressure. Arguello circles off the ropes to make distance. Catches Pryor walking onto his lethal right hand. They crackle off like a fireworks display in the night. As Pryor backs out, shoulder rolling away a right as he goes. Aaron smiles that damned smile. He'd found a fight he could get lost in.
Alex went to the body and was able to hurt Pryor for a while. Very effective in Pryor's style.
Pryor is now slowed down just for the moment.
The sheer zeal of Aaron Pryor is something to see. Aaron's sheer intensity was enough to overwhelm and fold most men.
In the very first round, because they started out very fast at the beginning of the first round.
When that didn't work, out came one of the most unusual bag of tricks in boxing history. He was a short fighter who favored the 1-2-1 combination to close distance. He could jab and move. He could fight inside, and his use of angles and reflexive head movement was unreal.
That's a rarity. I've seen it a couple of times, once in your fight with Tommy Hearns, but it is rare that a fight lives up to the press clippings. So far, this one has, albeit it is early. Arguello fighting off the ropes and fighting very effectively off the ropes.
For the first time, at the end of round 2, we hear the controversial statement that would hang over the rest of a brilliant fight.
You're the boss now, Jeff. Give me that drink, man, I mix. One that I mix, lose the quick. Mix up. Cross up. You're the boss now, roll!
Alexis Arguello is the textbook of tall. He was calm and poised. He knew Pryor's fanatic reputation. He adjusts accordingly on the inside, finding all the little ways to make just enough room to land his mortar shell of a right hand.
Very difficult to hit, too, just with that head roll that he has. He just makes a very tough target. That was an overhand right at the bell.
At range, his uppercuts to the body made Pryor pay for closing the gap. Everything he landed carried the unnatural snap El Flaco Explosivo was known to generate. More than once, it shook Aaron to his boots. Or it should have.
It was a good left hook by Arguello, but it did not hurt Pryor, who smiles back at him.
At times, a bomb landing made Aaron box and move laterally, staying off the straight line of the sniper. It saw him use a lead right hand as a disguise to get off the line of the tall man. He'd crash in with it or step past as he threw it, only to whip around into a vicious combo as Alexis was still turning to face him. Round 6 saw the first blood. Aaron kept chipping away with intensity and volume. Alexis would land a few clean bombs in response.
Punches either.
Well, he's fighting a bigger man, too.
And there's a right hand, and that might have hurt Pryor.
The fans were transfixed on the sheer spectacle of it, lost in the visceral technique of the moment rather than filling out cards. True fans only care who wins in a passing sense. Aaron proved he was more than just the heat-seeking missile he was billed as. He could box as well as brawl. Arguello proved just as capable at any range or pace the Mad King could show him. From there was a brutal war of attrition and stamina. Boxing is a high-paced game of life, changing wealth and bodily harm. Whenever the stakes get that high, rules become suggestions, especially among people who never cared much for rules to begin with.
By Pryor, who's now right on top of Arguello. Arguello stays right there and misses 2 shots of his own.
As the double-digit rounds roll by, the poise and pride of Nicaragua begins to take over. The uppercut to the body and overhand right as powerful as they are pinpoint.
There's a hard right hand by Arguello, but Pryor did not take one step back. Combination by Arguello again, the uppercut and the overhand right. Back with another overhand right. Pryor smiles at him.
Aaron Pryor, lost in the frenzy, smiles that damned smile and stares him down as the bell rings. Round 13 sees Alexis land the straight right hand he's been looking for all night.
There's a right hand, snaps the head back.
The crack of the punch echoed over a screaming, teeming crowd. Aaron's eyes stare straight up at ring lights. Aaron darts away, jabbing and ducking, unbothered, because he's been through worse. Because he's Aaron Pryor and most people aren't. What happens between round 13 and 14 is one of the most controversial incidents in modern boxing. Panama Lewis calls again for the black bottle, the one I mixed.
Give me that bottle. The one I mixed. Okay? Come on. Come on. Gotta win these 2 rounds, champ. All right, wait a minute.
Which immediately raises eyebrows for the sheer sketchiness of the sentence. Theories around to this day about what was in that bottle. Some say stimulants, some say antihistamines, some say peppermint schnapps.
That he had to win these next 2 rounds. I'm not sure that that's completely accurate, but I would think it would be a pretty good idea. And a left hand snaps the head of Arguello back. Arguello is wobbling.
Whatever it was, hit Aaron Pryor like spinach hits Popeye. Aaron comes out and brutally destroys Arguello in one of the most violent finishing sequences in boxing history. He lands dozens of punches too hard, too fast, and too accurate to finish Alexis in the 14th round. Accusations about the black bottle fly. Panama Lewis gets his license pulled for removing padding from another of his fighter's gloves. Despite the controversy, it didn't stop Aaron Pryor versus Alexis Arguello from being voted as the single best fight of the 1980s and one of the 10 greatest fights of all time.
I wanted to prove to the people, since HBO gave me my great opportunity, that I was a counterpuncher, a boxer, and that I could take my times and pick a guy that was a mechanic like the 12 rounds, 10 rounds.